We can go ahead and get started. I think we've got a good crowd going here. I just wanted to welcome everybody to our next session with the Student Support Summit. We are going to be hearing from Shaquana Shaq Miller today, who is the Assistant Athletics Director for Student Athlete Support at Anderson University. And she's going to be talking about the art of managing student athlete development. And her presentation is titled Leading from Every Seat. So I'm going to hand it over to her. This will be interactive, by the way. There will be some engaging topics throughout, some kind of roundtable type discussions, and then we will also have a time for questions and answers at the end. But at this point, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you.
Thank you, Lauren. Good afternoon, everyone. I know this is one of those times where we're at after lunch. It's been a long day. We've had some really great speakers and people who have actually gave us so much information. I'm going to try to make this presentation as engaging as possible because I am running off fumes. I haven't gotten my Red Bull for the day, and so it's Friday. The weekend is here. So before we get started, something that I like to do is just gauge your audience to kind of see where you are from. So in the chat, if you could just let me know where do you work and what's your position. This is a safe space, so it's not like I'm trying to just gauge anyone in terms of position, but it's a reason why I'm asking these questions. So really quickly, if you could just answer those two questions before I get started. Lauren, I don't think I see. There we go. There we go. All right. Okay. Thank you for all those who've answered. So, how many of you are doing programming, hosting events, checking boxes, and you feel like something is still missing when it comes to supporting your student athletes? In the chat, this is what I want you to do. If you feel like something is missing, I want you to enter one. If you feel like, you know what, Shaq, we're all good over here, I want you to put two. Awesome. We see a lot of ones. So this is going to be so helpful for you. That is totally the goal of why we're doing this presentation. Um, because the reality is student athletes development has changed. We know from the front end to the back end, the landscape is totally different. And so how we support our student athletes, how we provide that programming is going to be so important. So a little bit about me before we get started and why I do what I do. Like Lauren said, Shaquana Shaq Miller, I go by Shaq in the athletics industry. I love what I do and I do what I love. I've been in higher ed for about 15 years, and I have experience in student athlete development. I've coached for a little bit, worked in student academic support, compliance. Student athlete development is something that I really say that has hit home for me. I really love how we develop our student athletes. Prior to getting into the college realm, I used to work on the Let's Move initiative with the First Lady, Michelle Obama, when her husband was in office. I've done a lot of work with Special Olympics International and doing things on an international level when it comes to game experience and operations all over the world. But there is nothing, absolutely nothing like student athlete development, like doing anything when it comes to college athletics. So for me, I found that this is what I love to do. And I'm passionate when it comes to developing our student athletes beyond their sport, making sure that we empower them, give them the confidence that they need so that way they can lead with clarity, that they can go out in the real world and really hone in on what we've implemented and provided them when it comes to all of the skills through our programming and as well as coaching and their sport. For me, this particular presentation is something that I love to present and go around speaking about because I've created some systems and some frameworks that really support both the performance and personal growth for you as well as your athletic department. So if you have a pen or pencil handy, you're definitely going to want to write because we have a lot of things. So I don't know what just happened, but we're going to get going. Hold on. Yeah. There we go. So this session really kind of hones in on, I don't know, I'm having some technical difficulties on my end, Lauren. Let's see. Okay. So this session will really, what we'll cover is redefining our leadership beyond the titles. And no matter what your position is, you can be able to lead, you can have great influence, managing those influences and your culture, and then how you can do that from your seat. Some strategies for your student athlete development professionals, if you are that, as well as other positions, you could be able to take something away and use it in your department. And then some tools to lead effectively without positional authority. And these outcomes are some of the things that I feel like you can be able to gain from that. And these positions, this presentation is for student athlete professionals, it's for life skill coordinators, it's for academic support staff, athletic administrators. I feel like if you are working with a student athlete, this presentation will be really helpful for you. And why this session matters, student athlete development professionals, we lead every single day. We might not be in that title seat, in that position of that management seat, that leadership position, but no matter what, we lead daily. What you do is so impactful to our student athletes. So your influence, your management, and how you collaborate drive the student success in what you do on your institutions. This session provides the language. I'm going to give you some structure, again, some frameworks and some tools that you can be able to lead effectively and intentionally. So before we deep dive into the first framework that I'm going to share is how do we maximize our impact from the seat we currently occupy? How do we maximize our impact from the seat we currently impact? So if you know or have an idea, definitely put it in the chat. I would really love to read what some of the things that you're doing and what you're thinking about for your institution and what you do on your institution or at your institution. Lead up. Absolutely, Angela. We're going to talk about that a little bit as well. So I'm glad you were the first person to respond. Any others? No more? Okay, so let's go with leadership isn't about the seat, right? We just said that. I just noted on that. It's about how you use it. No matter your position, you can be effective, you can have an impact. So your leadership does not equal your title. No matter what, your leadership does not equal your title. And leadership really is about influence, is about how consistent you are with your student athletes and how you show up. And it's also about your credibility. So when you get all those things, that's how your students perceive you. And they don't even know sometimes your position. But if you are able to hone in on those three aspects and behaviors, then those are some of the things that will help you in your leadership position and then also help you as you grow. Student athlete development professionals, we shape the culture and outcomes of our student athletes every single day, no matter what. And so the first framework and something that I really would like to work on with you all is the seat framework. The seat framework is how we lead from where we sit. No matter the position, this is something that you can use every single day. And I like to preface this that, okay, this is something that could be cliche for some of you all. It could be something that you've probably done in the past. But really, I like to say this is a refresher. This is something that you could really use and really focus on and be intentional about. So that way you can grow who you are and what you do on your campus. So the SEAT framework is simply an acronym that I've built out so that way we can talk about each acronym's in a second, but it's going to be self-awareness, engagement, alignment, and trust. So the SEAT focuses on the leadership posture as well as your presence and not your position. So S, self-awareness. A lot of people, no matter what the position, no matter where you are, really don't like to hone in on self. They really don't like to kind of just sit back and say, okay, what did I do wrong? What could I have done better? Just things like that could really just help you so much in your position because one, you're looking at yourself. A lot of times I ask people, okay, how that program went, and they're just giving me all the different things. But then I ask them, okay, but did you show up? Did you show up as your best self? Did you provide everything that you felt like was necessary for that program? Did you provide the energy that was needed or necessary for that particular program or event? And a lot of times it's like, I just had to do this because it's something that is a checkbox that we have. We have to have so many programs by a certain amount of time. I'm so burnt out, so drained. But if you love what you do and you do what you love, you got to kind of go back to the self and your why in which you do and why you do this. So leading starts with you, no matter what. You want to understand what your leadership style is, something that I left off. You also want to understand your communication style, how you're able to communicate with those in that room as well. Because recognizing that your influence, you can even have that without your authority. So again, how are we showing up? How are we being intentional? And then knowing when to lead, knowing when to support, knowing when to step back. In certain positions, I am the head, in some positions, I'm not. But again, no matter those positions, you have to understand how you can be able to be in the forefront, say what's needed and necessary, so that way you can grow your department, so that way you can grow whatever it is that you're trying to and your goal is while you're at that institution. Your engagement. When we're talking about leadership, I look at leadership as relational. I look as a leader who's intentional about developing relationships with each and every person, with each and every student athlete, no matter what. I have 21 sports where I am, 570 student athletes, and that is a lot. But I try to show up. I try to be intentional. I try to go to the calf. I try to just create moments so that way I can engage with them and get to know them a lot better. So building intentional relationships start with you have to do that with your student athletes. Then of course we have to do that with the coaches. For us, when we're in positions where we're developing programs and implementing those and executing them, coaches really do matter. They are the ones that can really hone in on their student athletes, kind of get them there, voluntold, mandatory, depending on the coach's style, to be able to be engaged and in actually involved in that particular program or other things that you have on your list to do. Campus partners, I'm really intentional about as soon as I get to an institution, and this has actually been my fifth institution. My first 90 days, I have a 90-day plan. I'm a planner. I'm a girl who loves planners, notebooks, all of those stationary things, but I'm someone who loves to plan, plan, plan. So for me, I have to have my goals and my 90-day plan and what it is that I would like to accomplish, what I would like to see, even if I can't do those things, who I want to meet with on campus based on what I'm doing and in my particular role. So for me, campus partners really are important to us and what we do, even in athletics, because we have to be able to collaborate as a whole and as an institution. And then for leadership, you want to show up consistently and visibly. Again, I'm someone who is intentional about showing up where I am, so that way they can always see me and know, okay, that's Miss Shaq. That's someone who's going to always be there. Miss Shaq, are you coming to this game? Miss Shaq, are you coming to this event? Miss Shaq, Miss Shaq, Miss Shaq. It's all those things. So engagement creates access, and access creates influence. A is alignment. So you want to connect your work to the bigger picture. What's that bigger picture for you? And you want to align those life skills programming with your department goals. I see it a lot where we are building and creating events and programming, and it's really not in alignment with the department and more specifically, the bigger picture, the institution. Do you know what your institutional's mission is? Do you know how that works and go hand in hand with what you're providing? We always talk about we want a holistic student athlete experience, but what does that really look like for your institution? And then, as well as your student success outcomes. That's the bigger picture. We want to make sure, and I think the previous speaker just talked about that. We want to make sure that we are developing them beyond the game, beyond that, because honestly, if we don't, we've really lost the game. We really haven't done our job because, again, they're only here for a short amount of time. And then, of course, because the landscape is different with all the transfers, it's even shorter. So you really have to come in, be intentional, hit the ground running, and understanding the dynamics of who you're serving and how that works with the bigger picture. So you want to speak that language of your leadership as well as your assessment because that all goes hand in hand with the bigger picture. And then the last letter for this framework is trust. Trust, trust, trust. You want your student athletes, you want your coaches, you want your campus partners, you want them to know you, you want them to like you want them to be able to trust you. That is going to be the currency of leadership because that is going to be built through your consistency and how you show up, how you're visible, your follow through, as well as your professionalism. I know we're working in collegiate athletics and it's something totally different than what's on campus. But again, you want to show up as your best professional self because someone is always, always watching. And then lastly, you want to trust. The trust allows you to advocate effectively. People can be able to really listen to what you're saying because they like you, they trust you, they know you. And all those things are so important for what we're doing. Again, super cliche, but it's something that I find that we kind of shy away from, forgot about, and just because we're in the hustle and bustle, we really need to go back to this. And without trust, influence is limited. So in the chat, if I can find it, because I am really having technical difficulties on my end. But this is going to be a roundtable discussion. Normally, I have it, of course, we're talking, but we're virtual. So, these are the questions. Which seat do you currently lead from most strongly? And which seat needs more intentional focus this year? And you don't have to go into the why, but if I can get about two people to unmute themselves, if we have more, great. If not, I really would like to have two to kind of just talk about the seat that you want to currently lead from most strongly that you really are great at right now, and which seat that you really want to focus on and get better at. So take a couple minutes, think about it based on the seat framework. So I'm sorry, I should have explained that a lot better, but based on the seat framework. All right, do we have any participants? Just two guys, so don't not overthink it. Yeah, I'm really having, yeah. Anyone?
We've got one that says trust in the chat.
Yeah, I can't see the chat.
Oh, sorry. I will I will share what's being said.
I can't see nothing right now.
Oh,
That's why I'm trying to fool around on my end.
let's see if I
Bec-
can. Ooh, everyone, let me see. No, it should be. Okay. Yeah. So far, just trust is the one that's popping up for the seat. Is that for question one or two? I'm gonna guess. Oh, and then we've got one that says, I do engagement well and want to improve impact. And then we have student athletes have been able to trust me as I listen to them, have met them where they are, and have followed through.
Okay, awesome. So, y'all, when we do this next roundtable, because we have one more framework, I want you to unmute yourself and then be able to share that. So, those are going to be the instructions for the next roundtable. So, I love that we're writing it in the chat. But again, I would love to hear you all and what it is that we're going to be working on for the next prompt. Got it? All right. So, let's move on. Framework number two is impact. And impact is going to be how we manage our student athlete development effectively. So we talked about self, we talked about all the things that we can work on for the seat framework in our position, but let's talk about how we can use that for our impact. Again, impact is an acronym for a lot of different words and terminologies that we're going to use, but really impact focus on the execution and how we sustain what we're doing. Moving into intentional programming. So what we're doing with our programming is we want to program with purpose. And again, not just the calendar. It's not just adding a whole lot of events and a whole lot of programs on our calendar. How is that beneficial to our student athletes? Are we really looking at the why? And I know that sometimes we say we do, but what does that really look like? And that's not a question that you have to put in the chat, but it's definitely a question that I would like for you to write down and just, are we really honing in on those things? And then for this is designing development pathways. A lot of schools do this. Clemson is really big on this. For the Paul journey, it's just really great when it comes to first year, your sophomore year, all those different things into your senior year. Now, I get it. The dynamics is completely different no matter the division when we're talking about our transfers. But again, it's going back to the programming with purpose. Are we providing programs that could be just for development at that first time, one time only, or are we doing something that has development pathways? Or are we doing a combination of both? Because you're going to need that. Because you're going to have some student athletes who are going to stay there from the time that they enter into school until the time that they matriculate and graduate. So, what does that look like for you on your campus? And then when we're talking about intentionality with the programming, you want to connect that programming to real life outcomes. Is this something that they're going to be able to gain once they leave, a tool that's going to be in their professional toolbox that they're like, man, I really enjoy that. I can use that for when I get into the real world, and the workplace and just the world, period, right? So intentional is what we say, but what does that really look like for us? And that's something that you really want to go in on when you're meeting with your staff and your group, because this is going to be important for the outcome of your student athlete success. Is meaningful relationships. You want to have depth over volume. You want to make sure that you have great content and you want to have a program that's really sustainable for you. So when you're doing that, that's going to be important. But when we're talking about depth over volume, we're talking about the people that are coming in and not just having 570 student athletes, because again, that's going to be really difficult based on practices, games, all those different things. So you want to make sure that when you are having those relationships, that you're having a good quality of people, student athletes are attending your event. So that way, again, you're getting the outcome that you need for your data as well. We're going to talk about data a little bit later. And then for meaningful relationships, you're able to create psychologically safe spaces. I preface even this with a safe space. Like, we're not going to judge, we're not judging, but it's always going to be a safe space for us. For our student athletes, they are coming from all different walks of life. They all have different backgrounds. And so we don't know what they might have experienced before even coming into college. And I remember another speaker was just speaking on that. Like, honestly, we have to meet them where they are. So we need to create a space that we find safe. That's just for yourself as a person. You want to be in a workplace where you feel like it's safe, that you feel like you're trusted, that you feel like you're valued. And those are the same things that we want for our student athletes. And with those meaningful relationships, we're modeling life skills through actions. We're not just lecturing them. We want to make sure they're engaged. We want to make sure that they get everything that they need. But for me, anytime I'm speaking, especially to my student athletes, I want them to grow. So I want them to do better when it comes to uh, public speaking and do things differently and how we do our roundtables. Just, I don't want the ordinary programming, the ordinary events. So we always try to do life skills through those actions. We try to do the why. We try to do the what's one takeaway, just different things like that. As simple as this can be, just go back to that if you're not doing that, because that's really what drives the success and the outcomes that you need for your department. Proactive communication is key. How are you anticipating those needs before your crisis arrive when you're on your campus, especially in your areas? Communicating your value to your coaches, the administrators, as well as the campus partners. When you have those type of relationships that we talked about before, it really makes it easier and better when you're having that proactive communication. This is something like I can just go to anyone. You should be able to go to anyone that you have on campus when you feel that there is a crisis and you're able to communicate that articulately because you've already developed that meaningful relationship. And then when you're doing these things, you're sharing both stories as well as the outcomes. Proactive communication is really hard in some areas, on some institutions with some people. But this is something that I say just really work on because I'm not the best at it. I do have my times when it's just really difficult for me to have that proactive communication. But if you're showing up visibly, if you're being intentional, then you're able to see all those things and have the right type of communication with those particular people. Accountability is A. For me and my student athletes, we talk about accountability all the time. I just had a conversation with a student athlete before even getting on this presentation about what it looks like to be accountable for yourselves and accountable for what you're doing while you're here. So for us as professionals, we always want to make sure that we setting clear expectations for those that are participating, for the behavior when they're coming in, what type of event or programming is it? Like always preface that in the beginning. And then the growth. This is what I like for you to gain from this. And then at the end, give me some takeaways. But for me, accountability is letting people know what I expect of them at all times. And then, as well as you want to teach your student athletes ownership, and then you want to have those follow throughs constantly. So, accountability, that teaches them how to be accountable for themselves. We always say, when they come in, they should be able to do X, Y, and Z, one, two, three. But how do they know that? Who's teaching them that? And for me, we can't rely on the parents. We can't rely on the families that when they're coming into our institutions that they should know these things. So for me, I feel like I'm obligated to teach them what it looks like to be accountable because accountability for me is care and action. I am a previous coach. I'm a tough coach, but I'm like, hey, this is what I need from you. This is what I'm expecting of you because this is what you need in order to be eligible, in order to play at the next level, all those different things. And that's the conversation again that I just had before. Like, we got to lock in. We have a few more weeks. And of course, I was a little tougher and a little bit more stern, but he appreciated that because again, that's to me and to him that, okay, she cares about what I'm doing. And I know you all are doing that on your campuses, but just wanted to bring it up as well. If for some reason some of you are just like, this is not what I am used to doing, this is not what I do. But again, when you teach them accountability, it really shows them that you care. C, collaboration. This is something that is really, I wouldn't say difficult, but challenging on some campuses because some campuses and departments work in silos. But for me, collaboration is about managing across these departments for your academic support professionals that are working with you and your student athletes, as well as your compliance, mental health, campus resources, campus departments that aren't in athletics. We all work together. We should not be working in silos when we're talking about student athletes, athletes as a whole, students as a whole. They are our customers. I'm really big on customer service. So for me, I'm telling another department, hey, we really need to work together to better serve our students. They are our customers. So breaking that silo sometimes can be challenging from your position. But again, the know, like, trust factor really does help. And then also bringing in the personnel that you need. If for some reason that silo, those different departments don't want to be broken, because it does take time and it will happen, but you have to be intentional and bring in the right people so that way it is broken and can be broken. T, this is the last letter for the second framework, tracking growth. How are you tracking growth? Is it just, okay, you're attending and it's a checkbox? What does that look like? Again, you don't have to write in the chat, just ask yourself, write it down, think about it, talk about it later. Are you tracking engagement? Probably so, maybe not. Skill development, progress over time. What does that look like? Again, I always tell people that when you are tracking growth and you get the data that you need, you can be able to go to the powers that be to say, hey, this is what we're showing over 3 months, 6 months, a year time frame. And this is what we need to be able to grow it even more. So if you want to have the success, you want to be able to have the outcomes, then the tracking growth has to be really I would say intelligent, but no, it has to be really advanced so that way you can get what you need, especially when we're talking about data. And you want to be able to, again, use that data to advocate for your resources as well as additional support if needed. So this is the next roundtable. Again, I would just like two people to get off, unmute themselves. And this is the question: which impact area is strongest in your department? And which area is most challenging to manage consistently? Take about 2 minutes, think about it. So, impact, we're talking about intentional programming. I'm gonna go back for you so that way we can get it. M is meaningful relationships. Yeah. P is proactive communication. A is accountability. C is collaboration. T is tracking growth. Question is, which area is your strongest and which area is most challenging to manage?
Good afternoon. My name is Axel Vasquez from Baton Rouge Community College in Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Hi,
Hey,
Axel.
hello, Shaq Attack. Oh, the area which is strongest in our department will be intentional programming. That's what we do at our learning center, programming for math, life skills, career,
Mhm.
transfer opportunities. That is what we do. So that and it's intentional. So that would be our strongest area, impact area. The
Okay.
one that is most challenging to manage and consistently, I would say, is collaboration.
Yeah.
And it seems that in our school, the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing, and
Yeah.
just to try to get to have others buy in to what we intentionally are trying to do with our student athletes, it's a bit of a challenge.
Oh, absolutely. So actually, the school that I'm working at now, they just brought in football 3 years ago. So we're not talking about a sport that has about 5 to 10 student athletes. We're talking about over 100 student athletes, 10 plus coaches. So it's been a challenge, and this is the framework that I've used. In fact, this is why I created it to help me as I'm navigating this space because again, the left hand didn't know the right hand, and they just didn't understand football. This is again the first time. So for us, it was really being intentional about the collaboration, having those meaningful relationships. So that way they are always in the know when it comes to what we're doing, how to be able to best serve them. I'm at a predominantly white institution, and football brought in and increased the demographics of our student athlete tremendously. So what does that look like? And thank you for sharing. So I created this framework because I was dealing with some of the same things that you're dealing with. So we have to talk. And so that way we can have some great conversation and dialogue about how we can best help each other. And even though we're in two different areas, it can always help.
Thank you, Shaq.
Of course. Thank you. All right. Who's going to be the next brave soul? Is it Natalie? You can unmute yourself.
Yes, hi, that's me. To kind of introduce myself, my name is Natalie. I work at CUNY Lehman College based in the
Mhm.
Bronx, New York. I'm a student
Okay.
athlete, academic support supervisor, and compliance assistant.
You're
Very lengthy
everything.
title. Just to give a little bit of context for my role, it was introduced to the athletics department last year in August. So it's
Mhm.
very, very new to everyone. And
Okay.
I think that's probably one of the things that has come up quite a bit. And I think it's been about 9 months since I first started here. But
Okay.
I have to say probably the strongest part of the impact acronym, I think, is tracking growth.
Hmm.
because ever since I first started here that first semester, I really wanted to see if what we were doing was as effective as it could be. And
Hmm.
what my supervisor had shared was that in the 4 years that he had been here, we had never seen this amount of students actually achieve a 3.0 plus GPA, and that was 11 out of the 18 teams that we have here. And that was such
Wow.
a really cool thing to hear. And so I want to keep doing the same thing for this semester and see how, the new things that we've been implementing are, being addressed and seeing if we can continue to add more to these things. Now,
Absolutely.
with that said, I do think that the most challenging area is accountability because since I am in a student-facing role, I
Hmm.
find it incredibly challenging to have students come up to my office, when they have to come meet with me for say,
Hmm.
and I have to continue emphasizing, hey, this is why you need to come meet with me. These are the things that aren't going to be tolerated or the things that are being tolerated. And
Hmm.
then we kind of go back to square one where it's like, I explained this already, but no one's really understanding it. So there's really no way to hold them accountable because as much as, we have some of these things in place where, let's say someone doesn't show up and they have to be held from practice. Sometimes coaches will forget to do this and then we're, starting again from square one. So I think that's definitely where I'm struggling a little bit.
And you're bringing in your coaches into these conversations when you were talking about you're speaking of your student athletes, right, Natalie?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, okay. And you say you are bringing in your coaches into these conversations when they're not showing up and doing what's necessary?
Yeah, so they also have access to a spreadsheet that I created for them. They are able to access these things. So when students don't show up, they are notified of this. My supervisor is also notified of this. So the student is also aware of that.
Okay. I have some ideas. Due to time, let's make sure we connect. A few of them that have worked and that you could try out. You don't have to try them all at one time, or you don't have to try them all. It's up to you, and just kind of just see what works best for you. It's just really about seeing what's best for your institution. I've had this done before, and it's happened, so I really wanted to kind of deep dive into that conversation. But due to time, let's table that, and then we'll talk offline. How's that sound?
Yeah, of course, that would be
Okay,
great.
awesome. But thank you for sharing that information. I appreciate that because that shows us that we're all in different places, spaces when it comes to our institution. Um, so for me, seed and impact is really sustainable leadership. That's where the leadership comes into place. That's where the influence comes. How it shapes how we lead. Impact drives what we manage, whereas in seed shapes how we lead. So together, they create that consistency that you need. It creates that clarity that you need. It creates the confidence that we have because we're doing this and it's like a muscle that we're working out when it comes to the seat and impact framework. So for me, I use this um, constantly. Again, where I am now is why I created this framework because I was having so many different challenges like Axel and Natalie and probably like a few of the others that didn't speak up. But honestly, it's something that I love to do because it's figuring it out. Everything is figure outable. And I always tell my student athletes that. I tell my coaches that everything is figure outable. But for me, this framework has really helped me as I grow in this position because this position is brand new. And so I hope it has helped you as well. And this is something that I want to just challenge you with. A personal action plan for your next 30 days. Don't answer it right off the bat. Kind of just really reflect, take some time, take a day or so. In the next 30 days, what is one seat behavior that you want to strengthen? And when I mean take some time, don't take 30 days. Take the time in a few hours, a day or so, that what you want to do in the next 30 days. And that's one behavior from the seat framework that you'd like to strengthen, and then one impact behavior or practice that you want to implement. And then lastly, one partnership that you want to deepen. And so this is what I really would like for you to take from this. Uh, if you only remember one thing, it's you don't need a new title to lead effectively. Now, I'm not saying stay where you are. I know we all want to grow. We all have our personal goals, professional goals. But in terms of the leadership that you already have it. In terms of the impact that you have, you're already doing it. In terms of the influence that you are thinking that you need, you already have those things. So you can do those things and you can do it effectively, efficiently, intentionally, as long as you are intentional about ensuring that you're growing where you are. So you don't need permission to manage with intention, and you are already positioned to lead in your seat by creating impact. So I want to leave you with that because what you're doing is amazing on your campuses. I'd love to see it. We're going to do some Q&A, right, Lauren? Are we good on Q&A?
Yes, we have plenty of time to do some Q&A. If you want to unmute yourself, that'd be lovely. If you prefer putting it in the chat, I can read and share out what people are saying. So we have probably about 10 minutes to just chat.
Okay. And then also, let's stay in touch, guys. If you have any, I love to work with people, talk to people, honestly, just have really great conversations about what we do. Because again, if you do what you do, you love what you do, it's really something that you want to grow on. So I'm always about just having great conversations. And you could do so by contacting me on social media on LinkedIn and then emailing me. So that way we can chat more about this. All right, you might have to guide me, Lauren.
No, that's
Did
fine.
I say okay?
I don't know why the chat's not popping up. I have it for me, but I don't know about the other side. But if anything pops up in here, I will read it off.
Yeah, I don't. Do you see the chat? Because I don't.
I do, yes, I can see it. We've got some applause.
See, I don't see that.
Oh, it just popped up like in the little corner of the screen. Almost missed it
Okay.
actually. Oh,
Hmm.
there they goes. I gotta hope you. I wonder why.
You should see what's on my side. I don't even, I'm
Oh
glad I
no.
remember half the slides. It has been a whirlwind,
There's always something with the technology.
but we made it work.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, Natalie said, yes, this was great. I loved all the insights, especially the impact acronym.
Okay, Natalie, make sure you connect with me, Natalie, so we can chat. None?
No questions yet. Axel says, thank you, Shaq, and I will be in touch with you regarding collaboration.
Awesome. Let's do it. No questions?
Hello.
Hi, is it
Hi, how are
Janae?
you? Janae Boone from UGA Learning Specialist. I do not have any questions.
Okay.
I do want to say, just as like an educator, I always enjoy kind of having the framework
Mhm,
um, to look at little
mhm,
acronyms, more visuals.
mhm.
So I really do appreciate that, and you
Thank
did a
you.
great job.
Thank you. Even with all the technical difficulties, I appreciate that.
Yeah, look, it happens. It happens.
Yeah, you want it to be perfect. So it's just, hey, I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Damien also popped up and said, thank you. I will be reaching out to you as well.
Awesome. I look forward to it. We have this session until.
Ah,
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
yes.
Okay, my name's Jerice, and Janae just spoke on behalf of UGA, I guess. But I have a question, and I second and echo what she said too. But I have a question when it comes to what does leadership look like in an organization where you feel like there is a glass ceiling that you could have already reached, or an organization where you feel as if they're not as receptive to change, more so and more so stuck in the ways that it's continued to, kind of grow over the years, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
You mean that this is how we've always done it mindset?
Yes, yes,
Yeah. We
yes.
get that a lot. You have a lot of people, especially on campuses like yours, we have a lot of people that are alums that have been there for years, 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 years. For me, what has worked, and then other people from just colleagues, we really just kind of go into the person that has the most influence, that can be able to speak on behalf of those that need that change, that need something a little different. So we try to go to, let's just, for example, say you're AD, all right? That's just a prime example in it because we do that here. Like, hey, we're having so much difficulty in other departments and other areas, and we need you to be able to reach, speak on behalf of what we're doing, or whoever in that department that has the power, the influence, so that way you can be able to move differently. What I do find though is a little bit at a time.
Mm,
Something that you can work with is not giving them the entire show, not giving them all of the things, but just a little bit, because I find that a little bit goes a long way, and biting off a little bit of the elephant at a time helps them
mm,
to be able to say, okay, this is something that does work. This is something that does look different, but it's impactful. It's really helping us grow, and we need that. I've done it so many different ways, but for different things that I've done, as well as colleagues, we've all tried to say that little bit at a time really does work when you're talking about areas or people that don't want to change and are stuck in the old ways.
gotcha. Thank you.
No problem. Um, Lauren, do you want me to is it Anaya? I'm really big on names, so please correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes, it's Anaya.
Okay. So you are the learning specialist for athletes. My question is, how can an athletic My question is, how can an athletic academic department be more accountable when it comes to staff and translating to athletes, work athletes? Oh, what's the word? Yeah, okay. So, Anaya, can you go just give me a little bit more context? Is this something that your your staff, or is it your coaches?
I would say it's a 50-50 split. So like it comes down to like the advisors that are assigned to the sports and then also to like the coaches, like how can we be more accountable and making sure that as on the staff side we are doing what we need to do to better benefit the athletes. Because I feel like sometimes athletes, especially at the age that we are now, between the ages of 18 26, can see a lack of accountability being held. And so they think it's fine. And I graduated from A&T, so I'm a double alum, and I was an athlete. So I
Mhm.
did transition into this workspace and seeing a different lens because
Mhm.
I didn't see this side of the ball when it comes to this space. And I want to know how can I, as a learning specialist, still like be accountable to my staff, hold them accountable, and hold my coaches accountable. So that way it's a one unit and the students don't see that we're like kind of all over the place. Cause I feel like that's where like these last like couple weeks have been as far as like accountability.
So if it's just the last couple of weeks, a lot of times it's just because people are just they're just outworked. They're just tired. They're just ready to push forward and just go to the summer. So if it's not the entire semester, that's not too bad. I know the last stretch can be really difficult for all of us. I mean, we're working so much. We have so many moving parts, as well as student athletes. My question to you is, have this conversation already been like had or you guys had in terms of what that accountability is and looks like? Have you already kind of had it with someone? That's the first.
Um, I would say we've had talks about accountability, but of course, like our boss is just our boss. If she's not the boss of the coaches, so she talks to us about accountability. But
Mhm.
I feel like sometimes it's almost like one of those instances where it goes through one ear and out the other. So like I'm working in certain areas and um I don't see the same like effort in other colleagues that are being given versus like, somebody who is given that effort to try to finish out strong or, uphold to the standards and accountability. I don't feel like that is always translated, or I have not seen that translated this semester in some of my colleagues and coaches.
So in terms of accountability, I've read a book and it's when we're trying to get someone to be accountable, it's not a quick fix type of situation. It's something that again requires them to be intentional, you to be intentional, everyone to be intentional. But you can only do what you can do, right? And so even though we've provided the framework or provided this, it's more of what can we do right now and how can we be consistent with that so they can see what this accountability looks like. Continue to have the conversations with the powers to be. And then if you have that influence yourself, tapping into those that you need that accountability from, having those one-off conversations as well. I always tell people, no matter position, even a GA, like if there's something going on, respectfully, hey, this is what I need. It's really just a conversation. And sometimes we don't like to have those conversations because of our title and our position. And if this is something that you need in order to help everyone, it's really just about, okay, sitting back. Okay, who can I talk to? Who has this influence? Do I have it? If not, who does? And then go from there. But when we're talking about showing up for accountability, it does take time, but it takes a lot of intentional work and intentional showing up. So that way they will understand what that accountability looks like, if that makes sense.
Yes, ma'am, it does.
Lauren, are we good on time? I didn't know
Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, good. Sorry, my screen is absolutely frozen. So I can't see anything that's happening. So
Yeah.
newest technical difficulty. Um, but we are right there at the 5 minute
Okay.
mark. I think we just bumped to four. But there is a survey at the end when you X out or leave um the session. There is a white screen that says like a green continue. If you click that button, it will take you to a survey about what you gained from this and how you thought it went. Please give us any and all of your feedback. We would love to hear it. And thank you so much, Shaq, for your time and information. This was wonderful.
Awesome. Thank you all. Have a great weekend. Again, definitely connect with me, and I wish you all the best of luck as you end your semester.